Oh, you wake up in the middle of the night, your heart racing. Your mind is spinning with worry. What's next? What will happen to me? Is this anxiety just a part of getting older? Or is something else going on? You're not alone. Many elderly people, just like you, struggle with this same battle every day. You've tried everything: pills, therapy, distractions. Yet that overwhelming sense of fear still lingers. Why is it that, no matter what you do, the anxiety never seems to leave? You've lived through decades of life. Why is it that now the weight of the world feels heavier? Here's the painful truth. The more we fight against anxiety, the more it takes control. The more we try to escape it, the stronger it becomes. But what if the answer isn't in fighting it? What if the answer is in changing how we view it? What if I told you that you can use the ancient wisdom of Stoicism to calm your anxious mind, no matter your age? You see, Stoicism is not just an ancient philosophy. It's a practical tool, a guide for dealing with the struggles of life, including the very anxiety you're facing. We see the carved face of Marcus Aurelius, his eyes deep and steady, gazing out as if watching a chaotic world without flinching. Beside him stands Epictetus, one arm lifted mid-gesture, as if still teaching restless souls in the modern age. And then there's Seneca, his gaze distant and calm, as though he had passed through every storm to reach something eternal. 3 men, 3 lives, but one shared goal: to find inner peace in an uncertain world. They lived thousands of years ago, but what they wrote, what they reflected upon, still touches the quiet worries many older people carry today. When the hair turns gray and the body begins to slow, it's no longer hunger or money we fear. It's loneliness. It's not death we fear most, but dying with regrets, becoming a burden, lying awake at night, losing strength with each morning, looking back on a whole life and not being sure we lived it well. And in the middle of these fears, a voice from the past gently speaks. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote that not to teach others, but to remind himself. A Roman emperor, a father, a man who endured loss and fatigue. He too lay awake some nights, overwhelmed and weary. But he didn't give in. He wrote in his journals not to show off, but to stay sane. To remind himself that true power isn't in a throne, it's in self-mastery. Epictetus, born a slave, beaten and silenced, knew what it meant to have no control over the outside world. Yet he was freer than most. He once said, "It's not what happens to you that disturbs you, it's how you react to it." He wasn't denying pain. He was pointing to the only thing left that we can still choose: our attitude, our response, our inner life. How many older people today live chained not by real prisons, but by silent wounds, a harsh word from a child, neglect from a family member, an absence that stings more than presence ever could. Epictetus reminds us we still have the power to choose how we carry those things, to let go, to forgive, to release what no longer serves us. Then comes Seneca, who had wealth, fame, and status, yet still knew the cold touch of exile and fear. He wrote hundreds of letters, not for show, but to calm his own restless mind. One of his most piercing thoughts was, "He who fears death will never live rightly. Harsh at first, but look closer, and you'll see its kindness." It's a wake-up call. It invites us back to the moment. It reminds us not to live and worry about tomorrow, not to get stuck in all the what-ifs and if-onlys. It tells us that even if time is short, today is still a gift. Not everyone gets another chance to start over, but everyone can choose, right now, to live the rest of their life with peace. Stoicism doesn't tell us to bury our emotions. It teaches us to observe them, understand them, and respond with clarity. It doesn't make us cold, it makes us resilient. Not through strength of the body, but through quiet strength of the spirit. It's the courage to wake up even with aching joints. The humility to make peace with someone after years of silence. The freedom that comes from no longer blaming, no longer comparing, no longer clinging. because no one else has lived your exact life. No one knows every step of your story, and no one but you can decide how the rest of your life will be lived. That is your power. You don't need to be a philosopher. You don't need to read hundreds of pages. You only need a few quiet minutes each day, just like Marcus did, like Seneca did, like Epictetus once taught. In the morning, instead of complaining about the stiffness or the pain, ask yourself, what can I control today? At night, instead of fearing the future, ask, did I live rightly today? You don't need to be perfect. You just need 1% more each day. 1% more awareness. 1% more patience. 1% more release. 1% more kindness. And slowly, quietly, you'll realize you are no longer being swept away by the current of life. You are steering the ship of your own mind with calm, with grace, and with the quiet dignity that those ancient philosophers carried long ago. Imagine this. The sky outside still carries a soft gray light, and the house is silent. You sit at the edge of your bed. Your body feels a little heavier than it used to. Maybe your knees ache. Maybe sleep wasn't perfect. But this moment, this exact moment, is sacred. Because this is when you choose. You choose what kind of day this will be. Not the weather. Not the phone calls. Not the aches. You choose your mindset. You choose your peace. And that's where Stoicism becomes something more than ancient words. It becomes a living practice. You breathe slowly. You place your feet on the floor and remember what Marcus Aurelius once wrote. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. That sentence, that's not just poetry. That's armor. It protects your mind from the bitterness of age, from the complaints that sneak in so quietly. Instead of saying, why does my back hurt again? You say, I'm still here. I still have time. I still have choices. And that mindset changes everything. Next, you move slowly through your morning. Maybe you make tea or coffee. The kitchen is quiet. That's your opportunity to reflect. This is what Stoics call the morning reflection, a time to prepare the mind for whatever may come. You can ask yourself 3 simple questions. What kind of challenges might I face today? What virtues do I want to carry into the world? What will I do if things don't go my way? These aren't tricks. These are mental rehearsals. Just like athletes warm up their bodies, Stoics warm up their minds. You might think, I may feel lonely today. Maybe no one will call. Maybe someone will speak unkindly. And then you answer, but I will respond with calm. I will not let external things disturb my peace. This isn't blind optimism. This is preparation. The same way a sailor studies the weather, the Stoic studies his inner climate. He knows storms will come, but he builds a sturdy ship, the mind. Then, after your tea, maybe you take a short walk, or just step outside for a moment. Feel the air. Notice the light. Take in the world without rushing. The Stoics called this the view from above, a practice where you imagine yourself looking down on life as if from a great height. Suddenly, the worries feel smaller. The drama loses its grip. You remember how vast the world is, and how brief our troubles really are. You realize, that argument I had last week, it's nothing in the grand picture. That fear I have about my health, it exists only in this moment, and I'm still here. From above, the heart grows lighter. We stop clinging so tightly. We soften. And now you go about your day. You water your plants. You read the paper. You call someone you love. You cook a meal. You live, not in escape, but in clarity. You begin to notice the small moments that used to slip by. The feel of warm water on your hands. The sound of birds. The way sunlight touches your favorite chair. Stoicism doesn't demand grand gestures. It asks only that you live consciously, as if this day matters. Because it does. Every day is a chapter in your story, and only you can decide how it's written. Later in the day, something might go wrong. Maybe a delivery is late. Maybe a family member forgets to check in. Maybe your body is tired or your plans fall apart. That's when the second Stoic tool comes in, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us and some things are not." That's your guide. You pause. You breathe. You ask, is this within my control? If yes, then you act. If no, you let go. You don't waste energy arguing with reality. You redirect that energy inward toward peace. Evening comes. The house grows quiet again. You sit down for what the Stoics called the evening review. You don't judge yourself harshly. You simply observe. Did I live today the way I intended? Did I remain calm when I could have been angry? Did I waste time on things I cannot change? This isn't guilt, it's growth. It's how we improve, not by force, but by honesty. You look at the day with compassion. You learn, and then you let go. You prepare your mind for rest, not with fear, but with a sense of completion. So many people think peace comes from fixing everything around them. But Stoicism shows us, peace begins inside. It's not the world that needs to calm down, it's our thoughts, our expectations, our attachments. And the beauty of this practice? It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 60, 70, 80, even 90. As long as you can think, as long as you can feel, you can practice this path. You can grow in wisdom. You can become the calm in the storm, not just for yourself, but for others who watch you and learn. Because nothing is more powerful than a soul at peace. And nothing is more needed in this world than someone who has found their way, silently, steadily, and with grace. As the years pass, something strange happens. The world grows quieter, but the mind grows louder. Thoughts come more often. Regrets, worries, memories that feel unfinished. And above all, that lingering fear, the one no one wants to say out loud, the fear of dying. The fear of time slipping too fast, of not being ready, of not being remembered. But here is where Stoicism shines. Because this philosophy, this ancient, steady voice, it doesn't run from death. It looks directly at it, not with fear, but with calm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you had 1,000 years to live. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." It sounds harsh at first, but listen again. He's not warning us, he's freeing us. You see, the Stoics believed that remembering death was not a curse, but a cure. Not to scare us, but to wake us up. Because when you remember that every day is borrowed, suddenly the small things lose their grip. You stop clinging. You stop wasting hours on gossip or bitterness or chasing the approval of people who never mattered. You become brave, honest, light. You stop saying, "I'll call them tomorrow," and you say, "I'll call them now." You stop saying, "One day I'll write that letter," and you say, "Today is that day." You stop asking, "How much time do I have left?" and instead ask, "What will I do with the time I've got?" That's the magic. Not that Stoicism removes death, but that it removes its power to paralyze us. Epictetus taught that death is not an evil thing. It is simply natural, like a leaf falling in autumn, like the tide returning to the sea. When we fear it, we suffer twice. But when we accept it, we find peace. Think of it, you've lived through so much already. Storms, losses, triumphs, illness, disappointment. But you're still here, stronger than before. And every single day you rise again is a chance to become more fully you. Not by running from the end, but by embracing the middle. And yes, the body changes. The knees ache. The memory slips. The mirror reflects someone different. But the Stoics would tell you, the body is not you. It is your temporary vessel. Your soul, your reason, your virtue, your courage. That is what lives. That is what grows sharper with age, not duller. Seneca once wrote, "Let us cherish and love old age. It is full of pleasure if you know how to use it." Not pleasure from noise or indulgence, but from clarity, from freedom, from not needing to prove yourself to anyone anymore. And what about illness? What about pain? The Stoics didn't deny suffering. They just taught us how to meet it. They said, pain is an impression. It is not stronger than your mind, unless you let it be. That doesn't mean we ignore it, but it means we refuse to let it poison our attitude. You can lie in a hospital bed and still practice Stoicism. You can be waiting for a diagnosis and still practice peace. How? By remembering that you are more than your circumstances. You are the captain of your response. When something hurts, you can say, "Yes, this is hard, but I still have control over my thoughts. I still decide what kind of soul I bring into this moment." Even if you can't walk like you used to, you can still speak gently, still smile, still show love. That is power. That is mastery. And when the thought of death comes quietly into your room, late at night, when the world is still and your memories are loud, you do not push it away. You welcome it like an old companion. Because the Stoics believe that if you live with courage every day, you will meet death with courage when it comes. Not as a stranger, but as something you've made peace with. You've lived, you've tried, you've loved, and when the time comes, you let go, not with terror, but with trust. You might be surprised to learn this, but many Stoics died with peace on their faces. Why? Because they had already practiced dying many times, by letting go of what they could not control, by facing pain with grace, by choosing virtue even when life was unfair. And so when death came, they were ready, not because they were fearless, but because they had made peace with the nature of things. And now so can you. Each time you accept a wrinkle without shame, each time you speak truth without fear, each time you sit quietly and just breathe, without rushing, without needing, your spirit grows stronger, more timeless, more free. So let this be your reminder. Aging is not the end of growth, it is the beginning of wisdom. Illness is not a punishment, it is a test of presence. And death is not your enemy, it is your teacher. And Stoicism is the path that makes each of those truths not just bearable, but beautiful. And so the question becomes, how do we live like a Stoic, not just admire their words, but actually feel their strength in our bones each day? The answer is both simple and profound. You sit down, you pick up a pen, and you write. Stoic journaling, a quiet ritual, a sacred habit, one that Marcus Aurelius practiced every night in the flickering light of his chambers, not to impress anyone, but to clear his own mind, to prepare for life, to prepare for death, to make peace with the day behind him and prepare for the day ahead. Now imagine this, you sitting with a warm cup of tea. No phone, no TV, just you and your notebook. You write what happened today, the good, the hard, the regrets, the joys. You name your emotions, not to judge them, but to understand them. You ask, did I control what I could? Did I waste time worrying about what I couldn't? That alone, those small questions, can change your life. Because reflection is not dwelling. It's sharpening. It's clearing away the noise, the guilt, the clutter that builds up over time. When you write, you're not just recording your day. You're training your mind. You're reminding yourself, I still have power. I still choose how I live. For seniors, this practice is gold, because the days may feel repetitive, or quiet, or filled with challenges. But when you journal, every day becomes meaningful. Even a walk in the garden, a conversation with your son, a moment of pain that you endured without complaint. These become victories, worthy of being remembered. One powerful Stoic exercise is to write down each evening. What did I do well today? What did I fail to control? What could I do better tomorrow? These are not punishments. They're mirrors. And mirrors help us grow. You might write, today I was patient with my wife, even though I felt frustrated. I let the news make me anxious. I forgot that I can't control the world, only how I respond. Tomorrow I will rise early. I will breathe deeply. I will focus on the present. Even that little bit is enough to rewire your spirit, because you're reminding yourself, this is my life. I don't need to drift. I can steer. And don't think Stoic journaling is cold or robotic. No, it's deeply emotional. It's where you feel anger, fear, sadness, but you don't let those emotions control you. You write them down, you breathe, and you look at them with the eyes of reason. This is anger. I see it. I do not become it. That is real mastery. Marcus Aurelius began his journal with this line. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. It sounds negative, but it's not. It's preparation. It's realism. It's choosing to enter the day clear-eyed, not blind. You don't demand that the world be perfect. You prepare your soul to remain strong even when it's not. And that gives you peace. This is especially important as we grow older. When friends are lost, when children grow distant, when health wavers, when the world moves faster than we'd like. The temptation is to feel forgotten, to feel small. But Stoicism teaches us, you are not small. You are the entire world reflected in one soul. You are reason. You are nature. You are part of the divine rhythm of all things. That's not a metaphor. That's philosophy. And when you write that down, when you remind yourself each morning and evening, your days begin to change. You stop waiting to be rescued from loneliness. You rescue yourself. You stop fearing the silence. You embrace it. Because in the silence, you hear your own wisdom again. So make this a ritual. Each morning, write down 3 things. What can I control today? What virtue will I practice? Patience? Courage? Temperance? What fear will I face with dignity? And each evening ask, did I act with wisdom? Did I react with peace? What do I forgive myself for? What will I try again tomorrow? It takes 10 minutes, but it builds something unshakable inside you. A voice that says, I am not done. I am still becoming. This is not about pretending to be a Roman emperor. It's about remembering that your mind, your choices, are the only things that ever truly belong to you. The world can change. The body can age. But your inner fortress? That remains. So keep writing. Keep reflecting. Not because life is perfect, but because it is yours. Because in the last chapters of your life, the pen is still in your hand. And Stoicism is the ink that makes each word braver than the one before. Now let us move from the page to practice. Because Stoicism is not just something you think. It's something you do. And for seniors who want to find peace, strength, and a clear path through the noise of the modern world, Stoic practices offer a reliable compass. Let's begin with the morning. The Stoics believed the first few minutes after waking were sacred. Marcus Aurelius wrote, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. That means something powerful. Each day you open your eyes, you are not drifting. You are entering a mission. A life of virtue. A life of presence. A life of grace under pressure. So start your day not with the news, not with fear, not with complaints, but with clarity. Before you leave your bed, ask yourself, what kind of day will this be? What part of me will I strengthen today? Who might test my patience, and how will I respond with dignity? This is called the premeditation of evils, or premeditatio malorum in Latin. You imagine the frustrations and challenges that might come. Not to worry, but to prepare. That way, when they arrive, you greet them calmly, like an old friend you were expecting. Next, as you stand and stretch, take a moment to feel gratitude. Yes, gratitude. Even now. Even in pain, even in old age. The Stoics taught that gratitude is not about having everything. It's about realizing you already have enough. The sun rising, the lungs still breathing, the chance to act today with wisdom, that is wealth beyond measure. You might say to yourself, thank you for another day to practice being who I want to be. Then comes action. The Stoics were not passive philosophers. They moved. They acted. They trained their bodies and minds, even in hardship. So get outside. Walk even slowly. Touch the ground. Feel the air. Look up at the sky and say what Marcus Aurelius once wrote. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. If your legs ache or your body feels heavy, do what Epictetus advised. Don't demand that things happen as you wish. Wish for them to happen as they do, and you will be content. In other words, work with life, not against it. Choose how to respond. If you cannot walk far, then sit by the window and practice gratitude instead. If you feel lonely, write a kind letter to someone else. In Stoicism, even limitations can be turned into training. Midday, when distractions rise, come back to yourself. The Stoics practiced what we now call mindful presence. They would ask, where is my mind right now? Am I reacting blindly? Or am I responding with wisdom? For you, this might mean turning off the TV for 10 minutes, sitting in silence, placing your hand on your chest, taking 3 deep breaths, and remembering, this moment is mine. I can meet it with calm. You see, Stoicism is not just about enduring life. It's about mastering each moment, being conscious of what you say, how you carry your aging body, not with shame, but with grace. Because every wrinkle is a chapter you've lived. Every scar is a lesson you've earned. Now, as the afternoon turns to evening, the Stoics remind us, reflect, don't ruminate. This is when many seniors feel regret, sadness, or fear. But those feelings do not have to win. Instead, light a candle, pour a warm drink, sit with your journal, and write, what did I control today? What tested me, and how did I grow? Even if you lost your temper, even if you forgot your Stoic path, that's okay. What matters is this: did I return to myself? Did I choose again to try? That's what Seneca meant when he said, while we teach, we learn. Meaning, each moment of reflection teaches us how to live better tomorrow. And as the stars appear and the house grows quiet, end your day with one final thought. I did my best today, and that is enough. That's Stoicism in its purest form. Not perfection, but effort. Not control over others, but control over yourself. Because here's the truth that no one says enough. Growing older is not a decline, it is an ascent. A rising above the noise. A shedding of what no longer matters. And Stoicism is your wings. With each day you grow wiser. With each choice you grow freer. With each breath you have a chance to say, I lived, I loved, I remained true to what I believed, even when life was hard. And that, dear friend, is the mark of a Stoic soul. Let us now approach the question many avoid, but the Stoics embraced head-on: death. In youth it feels distant. In old age, it feels near. But to the Stoic, it is not an enemy. It is not a thief. It is a teacher. Seneca said, rehearse this thought every day. You may not wake up tomorrow. You are not owed a future. That is what makes the present so precious. This isn't about fear. It's about freedom. When we stop pretending we are immortal, we start living truthfully, honestly, with urgency but not panic. With purpose, but not pressure. So how can you, in this final chapter of life, walk with peace instead of fear? The Stoics left us a map, a mental practice, a shift in how we view what is inevitable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every day, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Why? Because awareness of death brings clarity. It silences trivial worries. It helps us forgive faster. It shows us that what we control is not how long we live, but how we live. And that changes everything. Think of it like this. Each morning, imagine that life has loaned you one more day. Not promised, loaned. What will you do with that gift? Will you waste it on regrets? Will you complain that your body is slower, that your joints ache, that people don't visit enough? Or will you say, I'm still here. I can still give love. I can still choose virtue. I can still grow even now. That shift from fear to purpose is the Stoic miracle. Even facing illness, Stoics do not crumble. Epictetus was disabled. Seneca suffered exile. Marcus Aurelius buried children and ruled during a plague. Yet none of them pitted themselves. Why? Because they understood, you are not your body. You are not your circumstances. You are the soul that chooses how to meet them. So how do you prepare to die like a Stoic? First, by living each day with full attention, as if it might be your last. Not in sadness, but in sacredness. Seneca wrote, let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Call that person you miss. Say the words you've held back. Clean the corner of your soul that still carries bitterness. Do it not because you are afraid to die, but because you honor being alive. Second, practice detachment. The Stoics taught that suffering comes from clinging to people, to outcomes, to things. But when we realize that everything is on loan from nature, our homes, our families, even our breath, we stop gripping so tightly. Instead of saying, "This must stay with me forever," we say, "I'm grateful I had it at all." That gratitude softens loss. You don't have to pretend you aren't sad. You simply don't let sorrow blind you to beauty. Even in goodbye, there is grace. Third, focus on your character, not your legacy. Many fear being forgotten, but Marcus Aurelius said, "Fame after death is nothing. What matters is to be good now." It doesn't matter if crowds chant your name. It matters if one person remembers your kindness. That's Stoic immortality, not in statues, but in impact. So ask yourself, who am I becoming even now? Am I more patient? Am I wiser than I was 10 years ago? Am I still learning, still forgiving, still striving? If yes, then your soul is alive. And lastly, trust in the cycle of nature. The Stoics believed we are not separate from the universe. We are part of it, a flame that flickers, burns bright, and returns to the source. Marcus Aurelius described death not as an end, but a return. Like a leaf falling from the tree, you go back to the earth that made you. And that is not tragedy. That is truth. It is not morbid to think of death. It is cowardice to avoid it. You see, when you look it in the eye, something happens. You stop wasting time. You stop chasing approval. You stop living for tomorrow and start choosing today. And that is why the Stoics were calm in the face of death. They had rehearsed it, accepted it, and lived each moment like it mattered. Now imagine this with me. You sitting at the end of the day, the window open, the sky glowing with the last light. You hold a cup of warm tea. You take a breath, and you say, "Today, I lived according to my values. I controlled what I could. I accepted what I could not. I gave love freely. And if this is my last night on earth, I go without regret." That is not fantasy. That is possible. That is Stoic peace. And it's waiting for you, right here, right now. Now that we've explored how Stoicism prepares us for the inevitability of death, let's shift our focus to something just as vital: living with peace and purpose every single day. The Stoics were not people who only thought deeply in times of crisis. Their philosophy was a way of life. It was a practice, one that made them resilient, steady, and calm, no matter the storms around them. And you can build that same resilience, no matter your age. In fact, for seniors, this is the time to take control of your inner peace, to build a daily practice that reinforces your wisdom and strengthens your spirit. So where do we begin? The first step is to create a morning ritual, something small, something powerful, that sets the tone for your entire day. The Stoics believed that how you start your day shapes everything that comes after. Imagine waking up, and before you do anything else, you pause. You take a deep breath. You focus on your heart, your body, your mind. You remind yourself, "I have control over my responses today, not over the world around me. I will choose calm. I will choose virtue." Marcus Aurelius used to do this every morning. Before he met the demands of ruling an empire, he would remind himself that he was a part of the greater whole, that his actions mattered only if they were aligned with virtue and wisdom. You can start your day in the same way, reminding yourself of your values and what truly matters. This pause doesn't need to be long. It could be as short as 5 minutes. Just set the intention that you will act with wisdom, kindness, and courage, no matter what the day brings. The second part of your morning practice could be a short Stoic meditation. This is not about zoning out, but about honing your mind to remain steady. Think of it like sharpening a tool for the day ahead. Epictetus recommended a powerful exercise. When you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, what is it I want to accomplish today? Think of the challenges that may arise, health struggles, conversations with loved ones, and moments of stress. Prepare your mind to meet them calmly. Visualize yourself navigating these challenges with poise, not letting your emotions take over. Instead of reacting with frustration, see yourself responding with wisdom and patience. With practice, you'll start to respond that way automatically. Next, let's build a midday practice that reconnects you to your core values. Stoicism teaches us that it is easy to be swept away by external events, but true peace is found in our inner steadiness. Around midday, take a moment to reflect. Are you staying true to your values? Are you practicing patience in your conversations? Are you keeping your mind calm when you feel your emotions rising? It's easy to get distracted, especially as we grow older and face more challenges. But Stoicism offers the gentle reminder that we are not the sum of our problems. We are the sum of how we respond to them. Take another deep breath, just like you did in the morning. Pause. Check in with yourself. Ask, am I still acting with virtue? Am I controlling what I can? Am I accepting what I cannot? This simple act of reflection keeps you grounded, centered, and in control. It doesn't matter if your body aches or if the news is filled with troubling events. In this moment, you choose calmness over chaos. At the end of the day, you may find it helpful to incorporate a reviewing practice. This is something the Stoics were masters of, looking back at the day with honesty, but also with compassion. Before you sleep, reflect on your actions. What went well? What did you struggle with? Did you lose your temper or fall into frustration? That's okay. Stoicism is not about perfection, it's about progress. Marcus Aurelius would write in his journal every evening. He would review his day, question his reactions, and remind himself of how he could improve tomorrow. He didn't beat himself up over mistakes, he simply learned from them. You might say to yourself, today I showed wisdom when I was calm. Tomorrow I will aim to be even more patient. By taking a moment to reflect, you build resilience. You understand that setbacks are just moments to learn, not failures to regret, and you commit to becoming better every day. This review also helps you recognize your strengths. Sometimes, as we age, we can forget how much wisdom we've gained. The Stoics remind us that our experiences, struggles, and wisdom are the treasures of our lives. And lastly, a key part of your daily practice is to embrace voluntary discomfort. This may sound strange, but hear me out. The Stoics believe that we can become stronger by deliberately choosing to face discomfort. By practicing small acts of challenge, we build our resilience. For example, take a cold shower for a minute. Skip that extra dessert, not because you can't have it, but because you choose not to. Go for a walk in the rain. Or perhaps limit screen time for an hour and spend that time reflecting. Why do this? Because it reminds us that we are not slaves to our comforts. We are free to choose discipline, to choose strength, and to choose growth, even in small ways. By facing discomfort, you build the mental toughness to handle bigger challenges, including those that come with aging. Whether it's dealing with health issues, loss, or the uncertainty of the future, voluntary discomfort prepares you to meet those challenges without fear. This simple but powerful daily Stoic practice will help you find peace, resilience, and purpose in every stage of life. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up for yourself day after day. Would you like to explore how to incorporate Stoic thinking into your relationships with loved ones and the way you interact with others? Now that we've established a daily Stoic practice, it's time to shift our focus to one of the most profound aspects of life: our relationships with others. After all, as much as Stoicism emphasizes personal growth, it also teaches us to recognize that our interactions with others are a vital part of our journey. The Stoics weren't just philosophers who lived alone on mountaintops, far removed from society. In fact, many of them lived in the heart of social and political life. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor. Seneca was a political advisor and a wealthy man who frequently interacted with the most influential figures of his time. Epictetus was a former slave who understood both the harshness of the world and the potential for human connection. These men knew that human relationships can be a source of joy and fulfillment, but they could also lead to frustration and suffering if we aren't careful. Stoicism offers a roadmap to build meaningful connections while protecting our emotional well-being. The first Stoic principle that applies here is the acceptance of what we cannot change. So often in relationships, we expect others to behave a certain way or meet our needs in ways we believe are reasonable. But as Stoicism teaches, we can't control others, only ourselves. How often have we been frustrated because someone didn't live up to our expectations? Perhaps it's a spouse who didn't remember your anniversary, a child who didn't follow through on a promise, or a friend who said something hurtful. Here's where Stoicism can transform your emotional responses. Let go of the need to control or change others. Instead of reacting with anger or resentment, pause and remind yourself of the Stoic wisdom. I cannot control the actions of others, but I can control how I respond. This doesn't mean you become passive or distant. It means you choose understanding and compassion over frustration. You accept that people are imperfect, just as you are. None of us are immune to mistakes, and by accepting the flaws of others, we create space for peace in our hearts. Seneca famously said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." So many times, the pain we feel in relationships comes not from what others do, but from how we interpret their actions. If someone speaks harshly to you, instead of immediately assuming it's an attack on you personally, ask yourself, what is the real reason behind this? What is going on with them that might be influencing their behavior? This simple reframing can shift your mindset from defensiveness to understanding. Secondly, Stoicism teaches the importance of empathy and kindness in our interactions with others. It is easy to become absorbed in our own worries or struggles, especially as we grow older. But Stoicism reminds us that our relationships are opportunities for us to practice virtue. By showing compassion, we not only strengthen our relationships, but we also elevate our own character. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflects on this idea. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, "Today I shall meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. They are like this because they don't know what is good or bad." Instead of being irritated by others' shortcomings, Marcus encourages us to recognize that their flaws are rooted in ignorance. This understanding allows us to act with patience and compassion rather than with judgment or anger. How can you apply this in your relationships? The next time you encounter someone who frustrates you, whether it's a family member, friend, or stranger, try to approach the situation with curiosity. Instead of feeling triggered, ask yourself, what is going on beneath the surface? What might they be struggling with that is causing this behavior? You'll be amazed at how this perspective shift can reduce conflict and foster better communication. By focusing on understanding, you naturally respond with empathy rather than escalating the situation. Furthermore, Stoicism teaches us that every person we meet is a reflection of nature's great interconnectedness. We are all part of a greater whole, and the Stoics believe that we should treat others with the same respect and kindness we would want for ourselves. This philosophy can help reduce friction in relationships and bring a sense of unity. For instance, when dealing with difficult people, Stoicism encourages us to remind ourselves, this person is doing the best they can with the knowledge they have. I may not agree with them, but I can still treat them with respect. This is especially important in family relationships, where love, conflict, and care often intertwine. The Stoics understood that family members, too, are just human beings, trying to navigate life with their own set of struggles. By approaching family interactions with the same level of patience and understanding, you can create a more peaceful and loving environment. A Stoic approach to family might mean offering a listening ear to a loved one who is struggling without trying to solve their problems. It could also mean choosing not to take offense when a family member says something hurtful, knowing that their words may reflect their own internal struggles. As you grow older, your role within the family may evolve. Perhaps you are no longer the one who can physically do everything, but you are still a source of wisdom, support, and strength. Stoicism teaches that our true worth is not measured by our physical abilities, but by the virtues we embody: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. In relationships with friends, Stoicism reminds us that true friendship is based on shared values, not external rewards. A Stoic friend does not expect favors in return. Instead, they give freely, knowing that genuine friendship is a form of virtuous living. Lastly, let's touch on one final aspect of relationships that Stoicism can deeply improve: forgiveness. Sometimes we hold on to past hurts or grievances, thinking that doing so will protect us. But as the Stoics teach, holding grudges only poisons our minds. Seneca writes, "It is not the man who has been injured who is harmed, but the one who remains angry." Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget the offense, nor does it mean you condone bad behavior. It means that you choose to release the burden of anger, which only weighs you down. By letting go of past wounds, you free yourself from emotional turmoil, allowing room for peace and connection. Incorporating Stoic principles into your relationships not only enhances your ability to deal with challenges, but also helps you develop deeper, more meaningful connections with the people around you. By accepting others as they are, practicing empathy, and choosing to forgive, you can transform your relationships into powerful sources of peace, support, and joy, whether you're dealing with family, friends, or even strangers. As we move further into the later stages of life, Stoicism offers immense value in navigating the complexities of aging, illness, and the inevitable changes that come with time. The Stoics believe that life is full of challenges, and the key to a fulfilling existence lies not in avoiding these challenges, but in learning how to face them with courage and wisdom. The Stoic approach to aging in the Stoic worldview is simply a natural process, one that we cannot control. Instead of resisting it or grieving over it, Stoicism teaches us to embrace it with grace. Just as Marcus Aurelius reflected on the inevitability of death, he also understood that aging itself is part of the larger cycle of life. In his meditations, he wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This reminder, that time is fleeting, can encourage us to live with intention and purpose, no matter how old we are. When you wake up each day, remind yourself that your time is precious, and don't waste it on things that don't align with your values. Instead, focus on what truly matters: your relationships, your character, and your contribution to the world. Aging brings its own set of challenges. Our bodies may not be as agile as they once were, or we might face health struggles. But Stoicism offers a perspective that can shift how we view these changes. Instead of seeing them as burdens, we can see them as opportunities for growth, wisdom, and deeper understanding of our own mortality. The Stoics were known for their practice of voluntary discomfort, which involved deliberately enduring physical or mental hardship to build resilience. By embracing challenges, discomfort, and the limitations of aging, you become better equipped to deal with life's hardships. Stoicism in the face of illness. Stoicism also provides us with profound wisdom when it comes to dealing with illness and physical ailments. In the face of poor health, it's natural to feel despair or frustration, especially as we age. But the Stoic mindset encourages us to focus on what we can control and to let go of the rest. Epictetus, who had a disability, taught that we must accept things as they are, even when we are faced with physical limitations. He famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This could not be truer when it comes to dealing with illness. Whether you're struggling with a chronic condition, recovering from surgery, or dealing with the effects of aging on your body, the Stoic response is to focus on your response to the situation. Pain, discomfort, and illness are all part of life, and instead of fighting against them or resisting them, the Stoics teach us to accept them as part of the human experience. In this way, Stoicism encourages us to adjust our expectations and to approach health challenges with equanimity. It's not about ignoring the difficulty or pretending it doesn't hurt. Rather, it's about accepting the reality of the situation and choosing to respond with patience, dignity, and calmness. Embracing what we can control. One of the central themes in Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. The idea that we should focus only on what is in our control and let go of the rest. In the context of aging and illness, this principle is invaluable. You may not be able to control the natural aging process or prevent every illness, but you can control how you react to those challenges. For example, you can take responsibility for your health by making choices that support your well-being, such as maintaining a healthy diet, exercising regularly within your limits, and taking time for mental relaxation. These choices are within your control, and they can greatly influence your quality of life. On the other hand, you cannot control when or how illness will strike. Stoicism teaches us to accept the things we cannot change, and to approach them with courage and calmness. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent to our health, but rather that we take proactive steps to maintain control over the aspects of our life that we can, while accepting that there are things beyond our power. The role of virtue in aging and adversity in Stoicism. Virtue is the highest good, and it is something that is entirely within our control. Regardless of our age or health status, we can still cultivate virtue through our actions and decisions. The Stoics believe that as long as we are alive, we have the opportunity to practice wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Aging, illness, and adversity are not obstacles to living a virtuous life. In fact, they can often serve as the best opportunities to practice virtue. When faced with illness, for instance, we can practice courage by facing the challenge with fortitude rather than fear. We can practice wisdom by seeking the best possible medical advice and making informed choices about our health. We can practice temperance by moderating our desires, accepting our limitations, and not letting frustration or despair take hold. By focusing on virtue, we can continue to live with purpose, even in our later years. Virtue becomes a source of strength that transcends the physical limitations of aging. Whether you're dealing with physical pain, emotional hardship, or the fear of death, living virtuously provides a sense of peace and fulfillment that is not dependent on external circumstances. Finding peace in the face of mortality finally, as we age and face the reality of our own mortality, Stoicism offers a powerful perspective that can help us find peace with death. Death is, of course, something we cannot control, and it is a natural part of life. The Stoics did not shy away from this truth. Rather, they saw it as a motivating force to live a good and meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflected often on the inevitability of death. He wrote, "Death smiles at us all, but all a man can do is smile back." By accepting death as a part of nature, we free ourselves from the fear of it. This acceptance allows us to live fully in the present moment, making the most of the time we have. The Stoic view of death is not one of despair, but one of acceptance and courage. By acknowledging our mortality, we are better able to appreciate the time we have and use it wisely. In conclusion, Stoicism offers invaluable tools for navigating the challenges of aging, illness, and the inevitable losses that come with time. By embracing the dichotomy of control, practicing virtue, and accepting the reality of our mortality, we can continue to live with purpose, dignity, and peace, regardless of our age or physical condition. As we draw to a close, the message of Stoicism becomes clear. Life, in all its phases, is a journey that we must navigate with wisdom, resilience, and grace. Whether we are young or old, healthy or ill, Stoicism teaches us that our true power lies not in avoiding the challenges life throws our way, but in how we respond to them. For seniors, particularly, Stoicism offers an antidote to fear and despair. The inevitability of aging, illness, and mortality is not something to dread, but something to embrace with courage and composure. We can still lead meaningful, fulfilling lives by focusing on what is in our control, cultivating virtue, and accepting the natural course of things with calm acceptance. As we age, we naturally accumulate experiences and insights that younger generations may not have. Stoicism teaches us to use those years of experience to our advantage, recognizing that wisdom is one of the greatest gifts that comes with age. We have the opportunity to pass on this wisdom, not just to others, but to ourselves as we reflect on the lessons we've learned and continue to grow. By applying Stoic practices, we can move beyond the fear of aging and find peace in the present. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This quote reflects the Stoic mindset, What seems like an obstacle, whether it be physical limitations, aging, or illness, can actually become the path to personal growth. When we face our limitations with a mindset of learning and resilience, those challenges become the very things that shape us into stronger, wiser individuals. While aging comes with physical changes, Stoicism empowers us to live with purpose and intention, no matter our age. We have the power to choose how we spend our time, who we spend it with, and how we approach each day. The Stoics were not concerned with the quantity of life, but with the quality of life. They urged us to focus on what truly matters, our relationships, our virtue, and our contributions to the world. So, as you grow older, think about the legacy you want to leave behind. What kind of person do you want to be? How can you live virtuously each day, even in the face of challenges? For seniors, the application of Stoic principles can be a lifelong practice that enhances the final chapters of your life, filling them with more meaning, peace, and satisfaction. Here's how you can start today. Reflect daily. Set aside time each day to reflect on what you can control and what you cannot. Identify areas of your life where you can act with greater wisdom, courage, and temperance. Practice gratitude. Rather than focusing on what you've lost with age, practice gratitude for what you have. Recognize the wisdom, the memories, and the strength that comes with each passing year. Embrace voluntary discomfort. Just as the Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort to build resilience, consider taking small actions that challenge you in positive ways. This could be as simple as going for a walk even when you don't feel like it, or choosing to give up a comfort that keeps you from growing. Cultivate relationships. Stoicism teaches that our relationships with others are an essential part of life's purpose. Invest in your family, friends, and community. Spend time with those who lift you up and bring joy to your life. Face mortality with courage. Acknowledge that death is a part of life, but don't let that realization paralyze you with fear. Instead, use it to live with greater urgency and appreciation for each moment. By adopting these Stoic practices, you will not only improve your own life, but also become an example for others, showing how it is possible to age with strength, dignity, and wisdom. The teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus have transcended time and continue to offer profound insights into how we can live more meaningful, purposeful lives. Their wisdom, rooted in resilience, acceptance, and virtue, is timeless and incredibly relevant to those in their later years. Ultimately, Stoicism is about making peace with the things we cannot change, taking action where we can, and living a life of virtue, service, and intentionality. Aging doesn't have to be a source of fear or regret. Instead, it can be an opportunity to deepen your understanding of life, to pass on your wisdom, and to live in accordance with the natural rhythms of the world around you. By embracing the Stoic philosophy, you can navigate the challenges of aging and illness with the same calm, collected mindset that Stoics use to tackle all of life's obstacles. You can face each day with courage, live each moment with intention, and ultimately, leave behind a legacy of wisdom, peace, and strength. Remember, time is precious, and the more you cultivate wisdom and virtue, the more fulfilling your journey will be, no matter how many years you have ahead. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Take action now. Live with purpose. Live with Stoic strength."